Here is the GS Trophy F800 BMW. First time on one of these. I've been wanting to ride these for quite a long time now. I'm pretty excited about this. It does have the lowered seat on it, so I hope that the lowered seat can not make me cramp up too bad up here. It's only about 1.5 inches lower than the standard, so we'll see how that goes. Wow, it feels so different than the 1200. I mean, already when you're on that scrambler, every time you raise the throttle, it kind of leaned to the right. And now this is a parallel twin, not a horizontal boxer style engine. So this is going to be quite a different experience for me here. I love the look of the F800s. I think they're a really classy looking, a lot lighter than my GSA, that's for sure. But I've been dying to try and ride one of these things for quite a while, and hopefully we can get a good feel for this today. I'm excited. It's on road mode. Everybody's getting along. We've got 8 bikes in this run. Rain and road. That's all you get with this one is rain and road. Not as big a transmission in this bike, feels like. Definitely a lighter feeling bike. I kind of like it. Okay, let's take a look here. We're looking at a nice little instrument cluster, no color in it, but you got your tach and you got all your stuff. Got your little miles per gallon thing they're working on. In a way, I kind of don't like the jog dial on my big GSA, because I like grabbing my grips real tight in the center. And oh, I love this thing. I mean, I know it's twice the price of what would be a Honda 700, you know, and man, they're moving today. It's twice the price of a Kawasaki 650 or the 700 from, but I'm not wondering for any extra power on this bike. It really takes the corners nice. The lowered seat, I can feel it just a little bit, especially with my big tall GSA. Nothing like riding in a big group with a bunch of Beamers. This is really cool. You know, once again, you're talking about 2 different kinds of bikes. The Scrambler I was just on is more of a city trekker. This one's more of, let's get out on the highway and let's go get some miles on. But this thing is really nimble. Really, really nimble and super light on its toes. I feel like I got more torque and pull through with my 1200 GSA, of course, but it's a much, much, much more powerful motor. I'm getting better gas mileage out of this one. But very pleased. Very, very pleased. Comfortable ride. I'm 6'2", in a very comfortable riding position for me on this bike. Not as much wind turbulence. It's got the little tiny air dam right here, but it's clean air going across my helmet, so I don't have that big rumble that I'm getting on the GSA. But then again, I haven't been up on the freeway yet. Once again, this is the F800 GS Trophy. This one does have a gear indicator, which is nice. Just that little bit of confidence that you get. Although on the R9T, I didn't have a one, and I never lacked for finding a gear. I always knew where I was at all the time. But there's just something about looking down and seeing a gear position that gives you a little better idea of where you should be. Especially if you got the music cranking in your helmet, you're enjoying a nice mountain ride, probably not listening to your motor as much as you should be. It's nice to look down and say, oh, wait a minute, I need to grab a gear or two. All right, now we're going to go back over to Fowler Avenue here and then head down to the freeway. Yeah, I like this bike. I always find myself wanting to get the cafe racers or something, but I'm such a tall, big guy that sometimes it's just not practical. And I was hoping that when I rode the F800 that I wouldn't be too big or too tall for this bike. And guarantee you, not tall, not too big. Feels good. Isn't that a good-looking bike? That racer is a good-looking bike. That is a good-looking bike. Once again, I feel myself sliding forward on this thing. I like sitting back a little bit more. I did change the seats up on my GSA, but this one feels a little more comfortable. But then again, I'm not doing a long ride on this one. Not quite as fat. And we're launched off and good. Definitely, you can feel the difference in the pull in the motor. This motor doesn't pull nearly as hard as that Boxer 1200, but it still doesn't lack for power, and it feels super nimble, confident on the road. Got a little bit of a mud thing going on here. Well, I think if I were to choose for a second bike, for running around town and just being a fun bike to run around town with and drive, I like that T9R or not R9T. I just thought that was like this little racer here. I just think it's a good little bike to buzz around with. I like the upright position a little bit better than on that racer. I like the 90s, brown leather seat. A lot of little things I liked about that bike. This one here is really good. I like the fact that I could go off-road with this thing a lot more confidently than I could on my GSA, on my big 1200. It just feels a lot more lighter and nimble, and it seems like it could really use a good mountain road and just to have fun with this thing. If I got one, though, I'd still want to get it armored up. I really like the bar package for these things. Just protect the sides of the bike and give it a little more street presence. Also, I'd mount some there's bars there, but I'd mount some LED driving lights on these, like on my GSA. I look like a freight train coming down the street with those little lights on the front of my GSA versus this one here that just has the standard headlights on it. Once again, I want to thank BMW for coming down to Herwaldt Motorsports and letting us have fun on these bikes today. It's a great little tour they have. Glad I came on a nice, cool day. Windy a little bit, so people didn't want to come out. So I got the first two rides, and I got the bikes I wanted to ride. Pretty amazing. Okay, we're up to speed now on the freeway. And, doggone it, a lot more wind buffeting on this thing than there ever was on that R9T. But once again, we got a bunch of air protection for the bike, which is not adding to the experience that I had on the R9T. A little more traffic than we had too before, so that's going to cause a little more of the air issues. But yeah, the R9T was definitely more wind friendly, if that's a good way of saying it. Yeah, it's amazing how this bike being so much taller, you're in so much more wind. And feels more, a little more violent up here. Even turning my head to look into traffic, I was feeling the drag of the wind on this thing with no windscreen. So if I were to have this bike, I'd probably get a windscreen that was about 12 inches taller than this one to get the wind going over my head a little bit better, because, man, it absolutely blows you around up there when you're going, plus speed. But what a smooth feeling bike. I mean, really smooth. Well, we're almost back to BMW's Herwaldt Motorsports in Fresno. Two really great bikes. If I were an off-road rider and I was looking for more adventure on the back roads and stuff, rather than having the weight of the 1200, this thing at 220 and 6.2 would be more than enough for having a good time on the back roads. I didn't buy my GS to go traipsing off in the middle of Africa or going down some sandy beach. I bought it to tour with. Now, people might call me a poser for that or whatever else, but that's why I wanted it. I wanted to take some nice long rides, and if I needed to go off-road, I didn't feel like I was limited to what I could do with the bike. This bike here leans the other way. It's more of a let's go to the mountains and let's go have some fun kind of bike. And really nice riding bike. For buzzing around town, though, I cannot say enough about driving that little R9T. Well, there you go. Thank you, Herwaldt Motorsports, for letting us have some fun today, and thank you for watching, guys.